Hello, everyone, and welcome to the SIX product launch. I'm pleased to introduce CEO of SIX, Daniel Barankin, and COO, Bianca Pisciola. Daniel and Bianca will take us through the most recent product updates and what is coming next for SIX. After the presentation, we will be accepting questions live, so please remember you can submit your questions at any time on the Q&A panel on the right-hand side of your screen during the presentation, and we will try to get to them afterwards. As always, the summit is being recorded and will be available to watch afterwards on six.com. So without any further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Bianca to tell the story of SIX.
Happy to get into the story of SIX. What we're oriented around is this mission here, which is to unlock social mobility on a global scale by empowering anyone from anywhere to invest in anything. And a big part of what allows us to do that is through our virtual investment summits. So for a bit of context, myself and my co-founder, Daniel, when we first started getting into the capital market space back in 2013, 2014, we noticed a bit of a shift that was occurring away from the historic methods that folks would use to invest, like financial advisors, high fee transactions, what have you, broker dealers, towards more self-directed methods. So they were looking for the wisdom of the crowd, talking to their peers in order to understand what investments they should make, orienting themselves around more self-directed trading platforms like Wealthsimple and Questrade and Robinhood, which were popularizing the concept of zero fees transactions. And so over time, this shift was occurring and folks were beginning to use their smartphones more and more to actually transact and to purchase shares. But what was also happening is these financial hubs were emerging where investors were congregating and talking to each other about what they were investing in, what they would recommend. And it was through these communities, folks were actually making decisions. They would trust their peers more than they would trust the traditional experts in the space that they would have been relying on previously. And this is really interesting for a number of reasons. One, of course, because of how investors are changing and how the trades are changing, the due diligence process, but also how investor relations is changing now to meet this shift. So our thesis is, in the metals and mining space in particular, there will be a shift where certain mining companies will start prioritizing and speaking directly to these self-directed investors and shifting the way that they tell their story to meet this new surge of investors. And there will be another cohort of mining companies that stick to the status quo, that focus on strictly one type of investor or the old methods of talking to investors. And our bet is that over time, the companies that think about these self-directed investors now will do better than their counterparts on the whole. And obviously, we're seeing folks now participate more in that community of investing. GameStop was a big story, especially when it comes to Main Street recently. And then you had the whole crypto boom, you had Doge, and you had Bitcoin. And what I think is really interesting about that is not just the fact that they are really interesting stories that bring in folks who aren't traditionally part of capital markets and make them aware of what's out there. The other interesting part is the fact that you have all of these retail investors, these regular individuals teaching themselves and each other fairly esoteric topics. Bitcoin is not an easy concept to understand on your first go, but they're teaching themselves what this all means, and they're teaching their peers, and a lot of real value is being created as a result. And I feel like a similar system can take place and is beginning to take place within the mining space, which is similarly seen as being quite esoteric. And so it's our perspective that very soon this will be an inevitability. Folks will come to expect to be able to invest on their own, to conduct their own due diligence, discover any company they want, and join investor communities where they can talk about those decisions. And because we'd like to be part of that shift if we can, we built the SIX Investor Experience platform, which we designed specifically around the metals and mining space, and specifically around these self-directed investors. There's three main pillars to what we do. access, which is the ability to discover new investment opportunities and to discover new investors, new companies. Coverage, which is the coverage for the companies that we work alongside, their abilities to create their own content and to share that content. And then finally, community, which is the community that exists between these investors and these companies, and the community that exists between investors and investors. And so insofar as how it works, investors discover opportunities on SIX. They can go and then they register for live and on-demand events. They attend and interact with others in real time. They would receive company updates to stay up to date with the companies that they're following. They'd join a community of other investors and stakeholders. They'd get recommendations for other investment opportunities, and then the wheel would spin and spin and spin, and the community around the company would grow as a result. To put it another way, we've given a lot of thought as to what the investor journey looks like, what an investor needs to see when they're just hearing a company's name for the first time, all the way to making that final investment decision. And there are a number of different things that they see along the way through a number of different mediums that help inform that decision. And one of the things that we know to be true, that I'm sure you all know to be true as well, is that folks don't make decisions in a vacuum. A person won't decide to invest in a stock because they saw a tweet, for instance, or because they saw an ad. But it's through the constant retelling of the story, the constant exposure to the team, and through the continuous effort to build that trust. That is how you ultimately get folks to understand the opportunity and to make that decision, whether that decision is to invest or to not. It leads them to that end state. And so we took all of that knowledge about the investor journey and we applied it to our own program. So this is our program at a glance, and you'll notice that the summit is in the center of that because we see that as being towards the end of the investor journey, where there's definitely higher intent there if they're willing to spend an hour and change asking you questions, listening to the presentation. That's definitely something that indicates to us that there's an increased interest there. And then everything surrounding that, those are all the aspects that need to be either launched or nurtured or integrated in order to get folks down that investor journey where they're actually prepared to enter a summit and they feel informed about what they're getting into. So that's the ads, the social, the email, creative, analytics, what have you. And this outermost ring is what we measure ourselves on. So for acquisition, we're looking at sort of the top line metrics, impressions, engagement, reach. For activation, we're looking at things like folks that are signing up for your mailing lists, folks that are following you on social media. Retention, we're looking at registrants and attendees for summits. Referral, we're looking at folks that are registering and attending for multiple summits, because then there's definitely, if they're attending multiple summits, there's definitely something that they want to either see or talk to or say. And then finally, we're looking at the folks that say, hey, I want to have a call with management. And then we connect them directly to you. And we use that as a proxy to see, are these the right investors that should be coming down the investor journey? Is the investor journey performing in the way that it should? And so that is us. And in ways of some proof, we're now working with over 50 mining companies in the space. We've been working exclusively in the metals and mining space now since 2016. And if you ever want to see what that's all about, you can go to six.com/companies, and you can see a list of all the companies that we've worked with, past and present. And you can click on any one of those and see the past summits they participated in, and you can watch recordings. And yeah, that is us in a nutshell.
Welcome to the SIX Investment Discovery Platform. It's equity research software for investors. There are 6 main components to the investment discovery platform. Companies, which you can use to discover companies. Newsletter, which is a daily note that contains upcoming events. The events themselves, which you can discover, register, and ultimately attend. The on-demand functionality, which you can use to watch recordings. The chatbot, which provides text-based support, and at any point you can speak to a human by pressing Speak to a Human. And Magazine, which is an online magazine of SIX. And so to access all of this functionality, what you want to do is press this Get Started button right over here. And what's going to happen is that you'll be prompted to log in. The great thing about this login experience is that it's the same to log in, whether you're completely making an entirely new account altogether, or if you've logged in previously and want to access your old data. The way it works is that you input your email address. My email is daniel@six.com, and please email me if you have any questions or want to chat. And what you'll do is once you enter in your email, you press the submit button over here. This is going to prompt an email that gets sent to you that contains a welcome code that's active for 60 seconds. And it changes and it's dynamic each time. Right now, my welcome code is 1592. And so I'm going to type that in. And what's going to happen is it's now going to log me in and I can access all of the functionality and tools, starting with this magazine functionality. And so here you can see it, but I'll get more into detail about the magazine a bit later. What I want to jump into first is the company's functionality. On this company's page, you can see all of the different companies that have hosted any event with Six. And so here you can see this full list. And what's really useful about this company's page is it acts as a discovery tool to help you discover new companies that are active and committed to building in public and to inviting investors and their community members and other stakeholders to come build their company together with them. And so as an example, we can go into one of these companies. Here we can pick Orezone Gold. And what we arrive at is a company page that includes some details about Orezone. I can subscribe for updates. Most importantly, I can go and see all of the events that are associated directly here with Orezone. And so I can go and see all the different events that have been hosted, as well as various events that are upcoming that are in connection, in this case, with Orezone. The next major functionality of the investment discovery platform is the newsletter functionality. It's a daily note of upcoming events. And so here's what that looks like. This is the daily newsletter. It takes this form. It's one note that comes out at around 10 a.m. Eastern every single day. And it's a summary of various different events that are upcoming. So of course, today we have our product launch. On June 2nd, we have another event on June 2nd as well, a following event on June 3rd, another event on June 3rd, another event on June 4th. And it's a daily note that notifies you of whenever there's a new event so you can go and ultimately attend these events. And so if you click either the image of the event, the attend button, or the highlighted name of the event, and clicking that will then take you to the registration page for the event. And so here on this page, there's the register button right at the top right. There's an image and details about the event, including an ability for me to add it to my calendar, whether it's Google, Outlook, or Apple. I can then see the details about the event, the presenters and the speakers, and ultimately what I can do is register. So over here, I'm going to register. And I've now registered successfully for the event. And so here is the confirmation page that I've received, along with a unique link that I can go and save and use to access this event. It'll also be emailed to me. So if I don't save it from this page, I'll still have a record of that link, ultimately, when I need it. And so when the time is right and the event is live and I press this link, it'll take me directly to the in-event experience. And what I can do from here is participate in the event. I can chat with other people that are at the event. I can go and submit questions. I can access handouts, and I can fully participate in the event and be part of the community and engage with the presenters as well as other members that are in the audience. And so this is, broadly speaking, the functionality that we describe as the events functionality, the ability of discovering, registering, and attending events. Now, notably, there's a really great feature that we have within this events functionality, which you can access through this menu over here, when you press Browse Events. And what it will do is it shows all of the events we've ever hosted in chronological order. And so here you can see the upcoming events, so June 3rd, as well as if you scroll down, it'll load all of the historic events so you can see chronologically past events and use that to discover events too. What's really powerful about this page in particular, and this is the Browse Events page, is that you can filter things by company. So if I want to go and filter based on Orezone Gold Corp, I can press that and automatically all of the data and the associated events will appear. If I want to go and see White Gold Corp, I can filter it and I can see all of the associated events through White Gold. And I can do this with any of the various different companies that have hosted an event here on the SIX platform in any context. And so that's the next major functionality as it relates to events. The other functionality as part of the investment discovery platform is the ability of watching on-demand recordings. And so if you press the menu button and you go to the on-demand page, you'll end up at a page like this. And if you scroll down, all of these events are certified to have a video asset connected to them. And so if you want to consume on-demand content, the best way to do that is through the on-demand page here at SIX. Following that, we also have a fantastic chatbot which provides text-based support as well as real human support if you request it. And you can access that from most pages on the SIX website by pressing this button over here. And when you press this button and you open up a new chat, it'll say, "Hi friend, welcome to SIX. What brings you to our site?" And you can choose options such as, "I'd like to learn more about SIX. I'm a self-directed investor looking for investment opportunities. I represent a public company and want to reach more investors." Or of course, I'd like to speak to a human. And so whichever option you choose, there is an associated text-based communication where you can go and use this to help navigate whatever it is you're looking for. So for instance, if as an investor you want to find upcoming events, you can let the chat know, and in turn you'll receive a link that directs you to that page. In this case, back to the Browse Events page that I showed earlier. And then finally, we have the magazine functionality. And this is what I showed you earlier when you log in. And what the magazine does is it's a place for upcoming events as well as market news and other interesting items happening in the mining finance world. All of that can be accessed here from six.com/magazine. And over time, this will be more and more populated. And so in summary, the investment discovery platform is a tool for investors and for you to discover different exciting events that are happening, use it to navigate on-demand and upcoming events, and to discover companies, and to use it as a tool for your equity research. Welcome to the SIX Investor Experience Platform. It's capital market software for companies. And so it includes a number of different modules: chat, strategy, summits, design, creative, email, social, ads, IXO, and analytics. And what I'm going to do is provide a very rapid overview of each of these modules. I'm going to show you the customer success software suite of chat, the project management software suite of strategy, the event hosting software suite of summits, the image editing software suite of design, the video editing software suite of creative, the email automation software suite of email, the social automation software suite of social, the advertising software suite of ads, the A/B testing software suite of IXO, analytics software suite. And so let's jump right into it. We'll start with chat. The chat module provides a quick way to coordinate with all of the various different stakeholders within your internal team, as well as within our team. And so what it provides is instant messaging directly between your team and ours. So here you can see on the left-hand side, many different people that I'm messaging. These are mostly people on my team, and it allows for direct coordination. What makes the chat module so special is that because it's directly integrated with the investor experience platform, directly from chat, it integrates really well with many of the other tools. And so you can run commands in chat that are going to create and cause behavior and actions across the other tools. It's also centralized all in one place. And so it's really convenient, really accessible, and operates and works really, really nicely. The second module is a strategy module, which is a project management suite. And so now what you're able to do is put together and run pre-built campaigns directly within strategy. So over here, what we're seeing is an upcoming panel that's being hosted. And what's displayed here are all of the various tasks and items that need to come to life and be completed so that this event can go as successfully as possible. What's really neat is that when you click into any of these tasks, you can see the associated subtasks. And so there's a lot of granular coordination. You can also directly comment and leave notes based on a task level, so you can be very, very precise around what changes or edits or adjustments need to be made. You can also directly upload files, whether those are documents, links, or direct file uploads. And importantly, you can see the full progress of a campaign, whether it's an email, ad, or summit campaign, or anything else for that matter, directly in one place. You're able to invite all of the members of your team, as well as our team, as well as any consultants or third-party individuals. You can maintain and keep an active wiki. All of the files are centralized, all of the conversations are centralized, all of the calendar events are centralized, and importantly, all of the tasks are able to be accessible directly from here. And so this is a way of having a shared sense of what's happening and being able to contribute to that and build upon it. And because a lot of these are templatized, it makes the process of running campaigns, whether they're email, ads, social, analytics, or anything else, much more streamlined and much more straightforward. And we can very easily see what's on track and how we can optimize it and make it work even more successfully. The next major module is around the summit module. And so over here you can see I've put together a summit. This is the Q4 product announcement for 6. It's happening, in fact, right now. It's already happened, or this is currently happening. But what you can see in this breakdown is that all of the fundamental details around this event can be put directly through the summits module, and ultimately it can be scheduled, and an event can therefore come to life. Additionally, from here we can manage all the registrations, the lead forms, we can invite presenters, as well as have various advanced options. What's really neat about this tool in particular is that you're able to use it across a wide variety of events. So certainly across large-scale events, but also internal team events and internal meetings and various other use cases. And all of that can be managed here through the Summits module. For a lot of the stuff that we do, whether it's summits, email, social, ads, design is at the center of it. You want to look good. You want to have great imagery. And so what we built through the design module is a pixel-perfect tool with pre-built pixel-sized images that we can then use across Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, or other channels. And so what you can do here is by clicking it, what will happen is it'll load an image, and then you're able to ultimately go and create the perfect image, whether it's for your Instagram story, Facebook post, or any other channel. And as a result, when you then use that image or graphic across that channel, it tends to perform much, much better. The next module is the creative module, which is a video editing software suite. The great thing about hosting events through 6 is that every live event gets recorded, and that recording becomes an on-demand event. However, many times during the live event, there are slight adjustments that would improve the user experience for the reader, the end user. And so what the creative module does in particular is it provides a way of going and updating and adding edits directly to the video. And so in particular, what you can see over here in the video editing software suite of the creative module is the video itself is loaded. You can very easily jump between different parts of the video. You can also add comments. So for example, this was an internal meeting that we had at 6. One of the requests I made is to hide all of the cameras except the presenter camera. And we can see a lot of back and forth that happens here. And so this is a way for video editing to happen at scale in a very collaborative environment. And so that's what creative fundamentally represents, so that we're able to have the best end user experience for the viewer at home. The next major module is the email module. And so from here, what you're able to do is run fantastic email campaigns directly through the 6 Investor Experience platform in the email module. And so you can put together different campaigns, whether it's an investor update, an event invitation, or other email, and directly create that email through here, this email module, as well as send it out and have all the analytics come together. What's really neat in particular about this email module and how we're architecting it is that we're creating a wide variety of templates that are purpose-built around things like news releases, catalyst events, event invites, common things that as an investor relation professional, you're going to regularly send out. And from that, you can go and manage all of that campaign directly from within the platform. Additionally, we're also releasing landing pages. And so directly from the email module, you can create fantastic, beautiful landing pages that are specific to your company and to your brand, and then drive traffic through social, email, ads, and other channels to that landing page to increase and grow your subscriber base. And so that's what the email module provides. The next major module is the social media module. This is a tool where you're able to manage all of your social media publishing. And so you can schedule different messages, and you can also post those messages across a wide variety of channels. Additionally, compliance mechanisms have been built into this tool so that before anything goes live, you can actually review it, or the right compliance person on your team can review it, approve it, and see it as it would go live, and then subsequently it will go live. And so all of this happens directly inside of the social media module here as part of the investor experience platform. The next major module is the ads module. And what you're able to do is put together fantastic advertising campaigns, whether they're video, text, or standard campaigns, and you can create them directly from within the ads module, put in the details, create the campaign, and go live. And all of that can happen within the investor experience platform. The next module is what we call the IXO module, or investor experience optimization. Oftentimes, there's a lot of great ideas around messaging, around designs, around videos. And so what this module in particular provides is A/B testing. What we're able to do through IXO is create different variants and versions, put together those campaigns, launch them, see how end users respond to those campaigns, and based on what performs the best, we can make the associated optimizations as it relates to things like messaging or videos and these sorts of things. Additionally, we also have various other functionalities built into the IXO module, ranging from recordings of websites, heat maps of websites, event tracking so we can see if something breaks on a website, as well as various additional functionality like web-based analytics, web-based funnels, as well as error tracking, along with personalization. So we can make the end user experience, the investor experience, as great as possible. The next module we have is the analytics module. And so over here, what you can see is the Summit Client Dashboard. And in particular, this dashboard provides a full overview of all of the data we have around summits. So right now, what we're seeing is the summit data for all of the events we've hosted. And so you can see that full breakdown in terms of the registration by investor type, location, browser, as well as all of these various different data points. Where this becomes very powerful is that you can filter it based on individual companies, and you can compare and see how your peers are performing, as well as based on conferences. And so you're able to go and have immediate real-time access to all of this analytics to make better decisions. In addition to the Summit Client Dashboard, there are also a number of additional dashboards, things like, for example, Facebook dashboards, where it aggregates all of the various different campaigns we're running, in this case on Facebook. Here you can see that we've had more than 35 million impressions served, reaching more than 32 million people, generating more than 1 million clicks, and producing more than 78,160 leads directly as subscribers for the various companies we work with. And here you can see all the various different data, the spend, the cost per lead, and so forth. We have a number of other dashboards as well, looking at additional advertising channels and things of that sort. And so with analytics, you're able to go and see real-time analysis around how your campaigns are performing, what the associated spend was, and additionally, how effective it is so you can make those corresponding adjustments. And so these 10 modules, chat, strategy, summits, design, creative, email, social, ads, IXO, and analytics, comprise the 6 investor experience platform.
All right. Well, we just heard about the story of 6 and about all the exciting product updates. So now we're going to jump into Q&A. So if you do have a question, it's your time to submit them now. But to kick things off, what is on the roadmap for investors?
For investors, much of what we do is about creating more and more content. And so already we've hosted nearly 200 different events. And so increasingly, a lot of our focus is about making the process of hosting events able to occur at a larger scale so that companies can be more open, and subsequently that investors have more selection and choices, both about which companies to invest in, as well as to create an expectation that investors can rightfully hold companies to which is that the best companies build in public and share their stories and their ideas and invite investors in. And so that's the main theme around what investors can expect. In addition to that, we're also creating tools and taxonomies to make the process of screening for companies based on your preferences much more personalized and much more active. So if there are only certain kinds of companies you're most interested in, or if you want to filter out of a universe of many companies to find that needle in the haystack, we're building tools and technologies to make that happen as well.
Great, thank you.
Just one thing I'd add to that, if you're an investor and you're invested in a company and you're not able to find them on Six, feel free to reach out to us, and we'll be sure to connect with you and see if there's a possibility to get them onto the platform.
Great, thank you. And so on the flip side of that, what is on the roadmap for companies working with Six?
So for companies, in our case, we want to create a lot more automation, especially among the different tools that companies use. As you saw, there's a lot that goes into hosting successful events, everything from the analytics all the way through to the marketing, the design, and ultimately the content of the event itself. And so increasingly for companies, we're building tools to make the entire process a lot more effective, a lot more powerful, a lot more impactful. And we're doing that primarily through automation, as well as releasing additional modules. So today, the investor experience platform is 10 modules. Very soon, it's going to be 11 and 12 and 13 and so forth, as we add more and more functionality for investors, for companies to use.
Great. That's very exciting. So about the product, is there a desktop app or a Chrome extension? There's also a question about, will there be a mobile app in the future?
So today there is a desktop app. You can download it by going to download.six.com and it'll have that app installed on your desktop. It's primarily being used right now for the investor experience platform, but will evolve to have more of the equity research features that investors have come to know and love. Additionally, there is also a Chrome extension also for the investor experience platform, and you can find that on the Google Chrome store. As for a mobile app, we haven't released one yet, but it's on its way.
Great. So we have a question here. What will be the impact regarding time saved or money saved of the product for both investors and companies?
So as Bianca mentioned a bit earlier in the story of Six, for a very long time, the capital markets have been very exclusive. And in part, that was due to structural limitations. For an investor relation professionals to speak with an investor, if you go back 30, 40, or 50 years, that would be through a phone call, usually a face-to-face meeting, or you'd have to fly and meet in person. And those are structural barriers that make it very difficult for companies to truly embrace this concept of building in public and inviting for communities to go and build companies with them. And so the large-scale impact that we're having through the software is by making it actually possible for companies, whether they have a community of 100 people or 100,000 people, to really engage with their communities at a large scale, and not just for it to be reserved to the largest companies, but for it to be accessible for any company. And so the impact is that the entire process of how companies get built, and by extension, how the world around us gets built, ends up being much more a process that can be spearheaded by an individual, whether they're an individual starting a company or an individual looking to make investments and being part of a community of whichever company they choose. And so that's the large-scale impact that we're building and that we're aiming at.
Great, thank you. So you mentioned that there's 10 modules in this product launch. There's a question here, which element or module of the product are you most excited and proud of offering?
So increasingly, I'd say it's the Summit module. I think that's the centerpiece of everything that we do. And what's really exciting about this product launch is it takes us one step closer to making that entire process completely free. The entire mission of allowing for companies to build in public is largely a mission about driving costs down, both for investors so that they have more choices, as well as for companies so that the way they approach the capital markets can be a lot more accessible. And so in particular with the Summits module, we're making significant progress where with just a few clicks of a button, anyone from anywhere can go and host events and do that while creating content for a very large audience of investors. And our view is that as we continue to make developments on that stride, that's going to have a tremendous impact.
Great, thank you. Bianca, do you have one that you're most excited about?
Yeah, well, look, I definitely agree. Summits is one of the, well, it's a cornerstone, and it's really, really exciting to see it all come together. The other honorable mention I'd give is to analytics, right? Because one of the things I find to be so powerful about the platform is not only the fact that you're able to forge these relationships both with your team, with your investors, investors connecting with other investors, but also you can see the actual impact of that in the data. And I think for a very long time, in this space, it was going from 0 to 1, just adapting from the in-person to the digital, and now we're able to go beyond that. And instead of throwing spaghetti at a wall and seeing what sticks, we're able to get very, very granular and seeing what's driving investor interest and sentiment. And so, tons to be excited about. But those are definitely a few good ones.
Additionally, if I could jump in as well for one final mention, I think the strategy module is also remarkably powerful. The navigation of the capital markets, especially by first-time entrepreneurs or people around the world that haven't necessarily navigated it previously, the strategy module has the power where we can templatize a lot of the best-in-class workflows used by fantastic investor relation professionals and allow for those ideas to be democratized globally and embedded and encoded directly in the strategy module. And what's really neat is that the strategy module is configured in such a way where it's like a blueprint for how to activate and use all the other modules, like the summits, like the analytics. And so I'd say that's also something that's definitely I'm very, very excited about.
Absolutely. Thank you. Clyde is asking, do you invest other people's money?
No. So to be very clear, we don't manage any funds. We also don't provide any recommendations around which investments to make. What we build from a software perspective is technology that brings people together. And this is, I think, the best expression of it, where all of us are here together talking about these ideas, learning about different aspects of what we're doing behind the scenes. And that's fundamentally what we build. In terms of the management of money or the investment, that's not something that we do.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, the way I think about it is Six is an arena, and companies bring their best stories, investors bring their ideas and their investment thesis, and they come together within this arena, but it's not one where we're, like as Daniel said, managing the funds or managing the stories or anything to that effect.
Great, thank you. So our next question is, what is Six doing in order to grow the network of investors and companies that are on the Six platform?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I can speak to the company side. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying it cut out for me, so I didn't catch the question. If you guys could repeat it, that'd be helpful.
Yeah, what is Six doing in order to grow the network of investors and companies that are on the Six platform?
So I can speak from the perspective of the company side. To start, I feel very, very lucky and grateful that a lot of our growth, insofar as companies joining the platform, has been through word of mouth. The companies that host summits on our platform have the ability to bring in their peers to speak alongside them on panels, and I think through that and through word of mouth, we've been able to grow quite dramatically over the last several months, but also over the last few years. And so I'm very grateful that word of mouth referral is still a primary driver for us of company growth. I'll throw it to Daniel on the investor side of things.
Certainly. So all of our tools, including the investor experience platform, is about tipping the balance of interest so that companies can, for the first time, treat retail investors as really, really important. And as mentioned earlier, a large part of why they couldn't do that is just the infrastructure limitations they had in the past, where you couldn't have conversations with 10,000 people. And if those 10,000 people only represent a small amount of liquidity and can't participate in primary financings, usually what happens is that those 10,000 people get ignored altogether. And so first and foremost, by building technology that makes it possible for public companies and all companies to engage with audiences that are much larger in size and to do so efficiently and to do so regardless of whether you're a small company or a large company, it creates a natural incentive for companies to be much more open and transparent with investors, whether they're very small investors or very large investors. And so first and foremost, we're participating in that change by building great tools. And then more specifically, on the investment discovery platform side, through the software that we build, we're making it so that investors can really easily discover and access and be invited to these company events. One of the really interesting things, because I went to, I think, my first public company event back in 2016 or 2017, so fairly recently, was just how I never discovered it before. The reason I was there was because a friend of mine from the capital markets had invited me to it. This was an entire universe I didn't even know existed. And what's really interesting is that now, as we see, for example, with Robinhood's recent or very soon to be announced IPO and their filing of their S1, more investors today on the retail side are managing their own funds and making their own investments than ever before. And so there's this massive shift of how people are making investments, but they're still investing in companies that they don't have a personal relationship with. And those companies increasingly are now in a position through what we built through the investor experience platform to be much more engaging with that individual investor and to treat them with a higher degree of agency and care. And so that's largely, on our part, how we bring in investors. It's by helping companies deliver great investor experiences, and it's by creating technology that allows for those investor experiences to be brought to life.
Great, thank you. You actually kind of answered the next question here, but if there's anything else you want to add, our question is, why do you believe building in public is so important to the way companies operate?
Absolutely. I think that's really a philosophical question, where if you look around the world today and the rise of populism globally and the rise of economic inequality and the loss, in many cases, of social mobility, people are feeling disconnected from the system that's being built. People are feeling disconnected from capitalism. And a large part of that is that people, even those living in democracies, feel a loss of control. They feel that they can't actually affect how the world around them gets built. And as they see these unequal outcomes, they come to go and be quite negative about those unequal outcomes. And so what our software does and our technology and the tools that we build fundamentally provide is a way for people to participate. It's a way for investors, whether they're very small investors just starting out, or much larger investors who also attend our events. It allows for them to really be part of a community and be part of how companies are making decisions. And by having a voice, much by posting comments in public, by asking questions like we're experiencing right now, and being part of that conversation, which ultimately leads to how decisions get made and how the world around us gets made. And so largely it's building in public represents an evolution of capitalism, where it's about making the entire process a lot more inclusive. And I think that's something that very much is at stake today.
Great, thank you so much. So you mentioned there's a few more modules coming along in the future. Looking ahead, how do you see the product evolving? What do you think the product will look like a year from now?
So as the product evolves, especially for investors, what we want are more community-based features. I think one of the greatest limitations today that our product has is it's not terribly easy for an investor who attends an event to go and network with other investors that are in the room, other than perhaps seeing the comments and engaging in Q&A. But in terms of the follow-ups, an investor that attends an event, meeting with another investor and doing that over coffee, those are the sorts of behaviors we'd love to bring to life. And so over the next year and a bit, a lot of our attention is around those social community features with a view of taking these digital experiences and allowing them to continue even after the event is done.
Great, thank you so much. Richard's asking, are you mainly doing or exclusively working with mining and metal companies?
Yeah, so today 100% of our focus is in the metals and mining space. Over time, the vision for the software itself is that anyone that is on an internet and that's on a computer can go and open their account and use all of the tools on the investor experience platform side. And so at that point where people can go and use this tool themselves, that's where it's going to be across every industry as people go and start using it in ways that we can only begin to imagine. Bianca, I'll pass it over to you though to describe a bit of what's happening presently.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite interesting. Myself and Daniel, we both had experiences in other industries before deciding to dedicate ourselves to the metals and mining space in 2016. But right now, our focus is to become the best solution to a problem that we saw in this space. It wasn't unique to this space, but we saw it rarely prevalent in this space before expanding into other industries, though we have had folks request that we enter into other spaces, and I'm sure we will do so soon.
Great, thank you so much. He's also asking for us to share our email, so this goes for anyone who wants to get in touch with us. It is our first name @6.com. I've written them in the chat. I think that's a great point to leave off on. So thank you so much, Daniel and Bianca, for taking us through the story of Six and all the exciting product updates. I also want to thank everyone who joined us today and submitted all these great questions. This is the second event in a series of summits hosted by Six, so please stay tuned and attend upcoming events to learn more about the company, and please get in touch with us. You can reach us at the emails provided in the chat. And you can also find more information on our website at sixix.com. And I'll hand it back to Daniel, Bianca, if you have anything you want to add.
Sure. So I want to thank everyone for attending. When we talk about building in public, really what we're talking about is what's happening right now, where it's about showing a lot of the great stuff that's happening behind the scenes and bringing it to the community and having, if you think that we're doing things wrong or you think we should be doing more of something, let us know. And as a result, we can be as responsive and dynamic as possible. And really, in the same way that it takes a community to raise a company, I'm really thankful for the community that we have here today.